welcome to our next fireside chat. My name is Andrew, and today we have Samantha Hutchison, who is the founder of Bears Bites, as well as Schutt from Northwest Boston Mutual. Very happy to have everyone here. And so, Sam, it's over to you and to share more about today's discussion topic.
Okay, so hi, I am the founder of Bears Bites, and I kind of wanted to talk about today, with everything crazy going on, I wanted to talk about how to bring in new clients during our pandemic, because it's hard right now, especially with a lot of the places that are not allowed to have their stores open. So I do not have a storefront, but I start doing events normally in March. So I get to see all of our people. Well, all of those events have been postponed until June, July, August. So I have struggled to figure out how to bring in new clients, which you and I have talked, where we've done sales, started doing more FaceTime and videos and Instagram stories, which has been very new to me. So that's really what I want to touch on today.
Great. Okay, let's hear from Anne. Let's hear from anyone else. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's been really challenging, obviously, in this day and age, with trying to go out and meet new people and connect with new people. For what I do, being a financial advisor, it's a lot of times it's connecting with people at events, like Sam does, only she's got a different product than what I have. Her people's puppy dogs are a whole lot more excited about what she has. But for me, it's been a challenge just too, struggling with, I don't want to seem insensitive when people are really going through some financial struggles right now. We've seen the unemployment rate skyrocket. There's a lot of businesses that are scaling back on benefits. They're scaling back if they haven't laid off. They're cutting bonuses. They're cutting merit increases, things like that. So it's been a real challenge just to try to balance that with still growing a business, but at the same time, being sensitive to the environment that we're in right now. So I don't know if anybody else feels that same way.
Anyone else would like to share their thoughts? I think you're absolutely right. It's really a challenging time. And I think when challenges hit, it's really crucially important to go back to the basics. And so I look at foundations. So one of the things that I've been looking at quite specifically now with businesses is how strong are your foundations, right? How well do you know your customers? How well do you understand their needs? How well do you understand what your position is and how well you're positioned to serve and meet those needs, and even move from, and so the idea of a transactional nature, right? Exchange time for money or value for money, to a place of really caring for the customer's well-being. And that's a really huge piece.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, just as we talk through how we're shifting through this, one of the things that we've done at my firm is just kind of took a step back and said, okay, how is this, our core group of clients, which we work with a lot of Caterpillar people, obviously, in this area, how is this affecting them? What is the impact? And then how can we come alongside them? And, with these changes they're experiencing, they've also had some changes in their benefits that could impact them as well in the long run. How can we come alongside them, do some education, and just kind of get on their agenda and say, this is what's happening. We get it. Here are some moves that you might want to make now to embrace what's happening and just, make sure that you're set up for the future.
So Sam, curious to hear your thoughts. How do you think your customers are doing what is their mental state, and how are you, perhaps addressing that in what you do with bear bites?
So I think our customers are doing pretty good. I know a lot of what we're selling a lot of treats right now for them to do a lot of training. So as they're in home, they get to work with their dogs. They're taking them out a lot more. So, if we go for a car ride, fur family gets to go now because we can't go in stores. So with us, our treats are very good training treats. So that's one thing I know we are doing a lot of. And I think it's really helping them connect with their animals, that they can take them everywhere, where before they felt bad having to leave them at home. Because when you're going to do a pickup for groceries, you can take them now. So it is, I think it's really, really a good thing with us. And I mean, we are having, I do have a lot of new treats that are being released. So I've been able to, with an order, I'll say, oh, I know your dog likes this. Can I send you this to try? So that's also a new fun thing that I've been able to do.
And also, to build on that too, it's, with your business, it's also hitting the wellness space, right? Like, I mean, it's a challenging time, and whether we know it or not, we are all being impacted emotionally and psychologically. The stress from the change of the work environment to adapt to what we typically don't see, since we're such a small town and region. Everything is in person. Can you guys talk a bit, discuss your perspective on what that has been like? Like, I mean, I think from pets are also in some way therapy, right?
Yes, there are actually studies that have been done that it shows that pet owners are actually less stressed out because of their pets. Even if you don't have a therapy dog, they really are therapy, because you come home or you're at home and the tail wags, you get a smile. It doesn't matter if it's cats or dogs, or even if you have a fish. We have fish too. So it's just kind of something, it takes your mind off of the big everything going on. It kind of how I look at it. So
Well, and Sam, too, I think that we've seen a lot. Just I volunteer with foster pet outreach as well, and we've seen so many more adoptions across the different, rescue organizations, because people are home and they have the time to dedicate to their dog. So, having Bears Bites and having some training treats, and we use the monthly subscription box. We don't mess around. We just want to make sure it's going to be in the mailbox every single month so that my dog is set. So I think now is a really great time for pet owners to bond with their pups.
And you just brought up a really good point that I'm smiling because I just watched a video on finding and building your tribe last night. And so you talked about memberships. Do you think that, I'm curious to hear from everybody in the call right now, memberships as a model, as a business model going forward, makes a lot of sense, right? Like, at least from my perspective, primarily because if you look at the comparative is really somebody walks into your store, that's a one-time sale, versus an ongoing repeat sale. That even if you have people do drop off after a month or two, you're still not starting from zero. What do you guys think about that?
I actually really like the membership box, because I've gotten to know our people, and that's another way that I can connect with our people. I love talking to everybody and meeting people, as you know. And that was a way for me to be able to do that, to be able to connect monthly. Like, hey guys, here's what we got going on, and then I have started the Facebook VIP group for our monthly Bite Box people too, so that we can still chat. We can chat together. We don't have to kind of do it through emails or anything. We can all get to know each other. We can talk about new things going on. If there's ideas, please, shoot them to me, and then we can go from there. So I really like a membership. I think it's a good way to be able to connect with people.
So, and for you, I think the membership is already part of the work, because they have to buy into the financial products.
I mean, really, it's kind of a free membership, because it's, there's not really a monthly fee per se for the planning part. It's only if there's, products or services that are purchased. But it is, I mean, it's a constantly checking in with people and updating them on their situation and updating their plans. I know, Emily, you with your Mio Creativo, I mean, that's really a subscription model. So, I mean, she could probably speak to that as well.
Yeah. Hey, Emily, would you like to share your perspective?
She might have had to hop on a phone call.
Okay, perhaps. Well, let's talk a little bit about, what the opportunity here, Sam, going back to what you said about what she said. Let's see here. Oh, she can't unmute. Oops. How weird. Let's see. We can oh, I can't unmute you either. Maybe you can try rejoining. That's so weird. Try rejoining and see if that works. Okay. Yeah, she's gonna try rejoining. But yeah, like there's so many things that you can do once you have an audience that is interested and engaged in what you're doing. Because if you're committed to the value that you're providing to them, they're also going to be committed to the value that they're going to want to share with you, because it's beneficial for them. Hey, Emily, you're back. Great.
Hey, sorry, I don't know what I did. What was the question again? I'm sorry, trying to figure out this out.
Sure. So the question was, love to hear your perspective on memberships, and how curating a community which is what you do too with the co-working space, is something quite important.
A community is pretty valuable, especially right now since we're so isolated, but it's truly just creating that support system of people. And even though at Mio we're a membership model and people pay to be a member, truly it's the community that's the value. So people, we work together, and we're finding ways to work together now creatively still via Zoom. We bounce ideas back and forth via Facebook Messenger and text messages. So we're just trying to be creative with that community in figuring out how we can still create that value, but it just has to look completely different.
Yeah, and that's been a question with regards to how can you have a co-working space if the people are not there? That's definitely something we all struggle with for a lot of place-based businesses. How can we rethink what value we're providing if we can't even meet? What does that look like?
And it's interesting because co-working spaces technically are an essential business right now, but it depends on how much you really, like, how much risk are people willing to take to venture out into the space anyway.
Yeah, that brings me to a good point. Okay, so just yesterday, the news came out that the shelter in place, the modified shelter in place, is going to be extended till May 30th. What are your thoughts on that, and how will that impact your business going forward? What are you doing?
Me specifically?
Yeah, you can start, and then we can ask everybody else.
Okay. It's not really going to change anything for me at this time physically. My co-working space is in the mall, so obviously the mall has jurisdiction over whether I can be open or not. And right now they have chosen to be closed. So until they choose to open the doors, I'm pretty much stuck. But we just launched this morning a virtual co-working membership option. It's a cohort with it's like a campus option with business owner specific education that will continue forward past this. So we do have an option for people to join us, and then we can eventually invite them into our space physically. But for right now, I mean, it doesn't really change anything I'm able to do right now.
What about you, Anne or Sam?
Okay, I'll go ahead and go first then. So we're kind of looking at each other virtually. Who's going to go? So, for me, it actually isn't really rocking my world too much, just because I have clients across the country. So I do virtual meetings a lot. I will say traditionally a lot of it was done over the phone. But now I'm seeing that, everybody now is wanting to do the video conferencing instead. Although I do have a few customers that are like, I'm on Zooms all day long. Can we just talk on the phone? But for me, it's not really hindering, I guess you could say, my day-to-day business, my day-to-day activities. In fact, I think it might even open up for some more expansion to some other areas, because now people are getting so used to connecting with people via video conferencing, whereas maybe they weren't as comfortable with it before. And they're like, well, I don't want to have someone that I work with that's across the country. I want to be able to sit down with them. And now they're a little bit more open to the idea of, no, I want to pick the right person. I don't care where they are. So I think it could lead to some benefits in the long run.
Okay, so it's actually helped us because the groomers get to open again. So we are actually carried by multiple groomers. So it's a good thing for us. We can get more treats out there again. So I was very happy to see the groomers were able to open again. That was a yay, but that is, other than that, we're still just trucking along on our website and doing a lot of the videos. I mean, I'm new at that, so still just kind of hanging there with me.
Yeah, so coming back to the lockdown, I think one of the perks, and I say perks with air quotes really, because not everybody sees it as a perk, right? But at the same time, part of business, doing business, is also to understand the assets that you have. And I guess a perk from, if I could call it a perk from the shelter in place, is that it forced a lot of businesses to think about the geographic boundaries that used to be there. We're no longer confined by those geographic boundaries. And like you were saying, I think now people are looking for value, and you don't really care where you are, because really, as long as the courier or mail supply chain is available or there, and it gets there within a week or so, Bears Bites could be in California, in Hawaii, and wherever. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, right? And your clients are everywhere. Emily, your clients are local, but they don't necessarily have to be local, right? What value are we providing to our communities, and how can we continue to do that?
Yeah, I mean, mine are local primarily, but I also have a consulting business. So for my consulting business, I have no local clients. And it's been interesting to me because those of us who have businesses that are virtually based, we've been blessed enough to have the skills and set up already to be able to help people locally that have the potential to do so, but just don't necessarily have either the technology or the software or the skills. And they're not that hard to come up with in a short amount of time. So it's been nice. I've had lots of local businesses reach out to me just asking the best way to do something. But it has been really encouraging to see businesses, especially small business owners, solopreneurs who prefer to be behind the computer and people not to see their face. We're seeing them now and we're getting to know them now. And I love that.
So let me ask you this. What are you hearing from the small business owners that are reaching out to you quite specifically? What are their needs that you've been working on?
I really think that primarily they just need reassurance. I really think that they really already have the ability and skills to do this. I mean, maybe they need a little help figuring out how to connect their Zoom to Facebook. But other than that, they just need reassurance because they've never done this before. And it feels very vulnerable to put yourself out in front of the world when you've never done that before. Like for Sam, Bear is her spokesperson, right? And so now she's got to be the face, even more so than normal. So I understand. We all have that. We all have that day one where we have to do that new thing. We just have to push through it. So it's exciting to see people do it. I love that.
That's a great segue to the next part, which is really how do you, create or start a mindset or shift your mindset to a place of curiosity and experimentation. Sam and Anne, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So for me, with the experimenting, I am fantastic in front of people. Like, I have no problems talking in front of people, but when I turn a camera on myself, I just instantly don't know what to do. So it has been challenging for me to do the Instagram stories and the Facebook stories or videos, where it took a couple of times where I'm like, okay, well, I just don't sound right, or maybe nobody's going to listen to this, to like yesterday I hopped on because I was cooking breakfast and the sausage was fantastic from Little Blue's Farm. So I just wanted everybody to know that. So now I'm just kind of like, well, maybe I'll just hop on. If you want to watch it, great. If you don't, fantastic. So it is a challenge though, to take that leap. I make great dog treats. I'm working on dog food. I can talk to you when you're standing there, but wow, Instagram stories, didn't know I could do it. Now I can. So just take the leap.
Yeah. And what about you?
I'm a huge fan of embracing curiosity, and Emily knows this, as I'm actually going to be giving a presentation for her group on curiosity on the 30th. But I think right now the biggest thing is to recognize, if you're a business owner and you're feeling trapped, you're feeling like you don't have solutions and you just can't get out of that bind, is to just, bring somebody in, bring somebody completely unrelated in, whether it's a consultant or it's a friend who's in a different business. Just because from a curiosity standpoint, they don't know your business like you do. You are so laser focused on that one thing that you do, and you do it so well that maybe by, bringing in that level of curiosity from somebody who doesn't know your business and has no idea and is just going to maybe ask some really good questions to maybe spark some innovation and some imagination that maybe you didn't know about, I think is very valuable at this time. So instead of just, hyper focusing and closing in on your business, now is probably the time to open it up and reach out to others and just say, hey, here's what my problem is. This is my challenge. What do you think? And you may not know anything about the business, but, you can go in and add some of that curiosity and some imagination and innovation.
Absolutely. And so really it's the idea of looking around you, understanding where you are in the business process, in your business, and looking around you. We talk about, a lot of people talk about needs assessment. Let's talk about asset assessment. And asset assessment is really about understanding what do you have around you. And so I was on a class over the last few days, and one of the things they were talking about was You know, this the person teaching was in a dump. You know, in Philippines and in Indonesia, there are these places where people actually live at the dump. And so then the question was like, well, okay, so you live here, and it's it's a really poor living condition and all that, but you talk about assets. What assets do you have around you? So they were saying, hey, so what do you do every day? Oh, not very much. So the first asset that you actually have is time, right? Then the next asset that they had was, well, look around you. What do you see? And so, oh, well, we have lots of plastic. Okay, so maybe plastic bags could be another resource. And so as a result of that, they ended up saying, okay, well, we have time. We've got nothing else to do. Let's see if we can recycle plastic bags. Can we make some money out of it? And that's what they did. And that was the start of them getting out into the next stage of creating a recycling startup, right? And then that eventually paved the way for them to get out of that situation and to help others get out similar situations. Now, I guess the question is for businesses here, you feel loss. What are the assets around you? So think about the people that you know. What skills do you have? What skills do you and your friends in your community have? And I'm going to ask Sam again to share the story of what happened at the labeling party.
So with the labeling party, that was pretty awesome. So you don't even think about it that you really do have assets like that. So we threw it out there. You and I had talked, and we decided to do a labeling party, pick the date, and threw out a Facebook invite. And I was like, okay, well, we'll have a couple people show up. We ended up having like 37 people show up. I mean, it was amazing. We planned on 4 hours of labeling, and we had it done within an hour and 27 minutes. And this was like 4,000 bags. It was not a small amount of bags. So yes, definitely. Sometimes you need somebody to bounce that idea off of, though, as an asset. Like, I never would have thought about that. And then you're one of my assets because you were like, hey, here's an idea. And then we put it into motion. So that is definitely, sometimes you got to think outside of the box. And right now is really a time that we have to think outside of the box to get that moving.
Yeah, and really it's the idea of, that in and of itself was an experiment, right? Like, we don't know if people will show up. We'll feed them. And actually, you didn't even talk about feeding them. All you did was show up with the food. And then it's pretty good, by the way. Who was it again? Like, we should just totally promote them. Too.
It's 50/50 Restaurant. They're right out Bellevue, right out the hill there. They're amazing. The food's great.
Yeah, that was some of the best.
Their burgers, so he had to shut down.
Oh.
Yeah, until everything's done and people can go back in. So.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to them when they come back in.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, really the idea is to start experimenting. We don't know what we don't know, but very often the things that we don't know may be quite beneficial for us to find out. So now the question is, how do you find out, right? Emily, you want to talk about your new virtual membership now a little bit more? I'd love to hear more about what that's like.
Yeah, and it's truly just to meet a need for people, business owners, because I've had a lot of them reach out to me for help with different things historically since I started all my businesses, because that's kind of what I do. But a lot of people don't have the funds necessarily to pay a consultant like me to help them with their business. So this is a low cost way to learn skills. They're going to talk about things like marketing and branding, how to sell when you're not comfortable with selling, things that we all need to know how to do. And they're from beginner to advanced classes, but it's $25 a month and it's unlimited. So the classes are 2 days a week, and they have 4 classes a week. So I've teamed up with a company called Inc., and it's something that they do all the time. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to learn stuff because I'm a nerd and I love to learn stuff. So it's going to be awesome for me anyway.
So you touched on something that was quite interesting, that you love learning something. And I think really it's people who are willing to put themselves out there and willing to learn something new that that they typically wouldn't have learned or known about. And you want to share from your perspective in terms of the education component for your customers, what that's like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. I mean, I've always been a proponent, a lifelong learner. Again, it links into that curiosity, right? Like there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have that one purpose and focus and drive in that one thing, that they want to just hammer forward for. They're more so, I'm just curious about a lot of different things. Like Emily said, I just want to learn. I want to learn about different things. And so, for us, we do a lot of education with our clients, but it's what they want, right? We give them the education, we help them understand it at their level, but knowing that, finance and investing and retirement planning is not their thing, right? That's not their purpose. That's not what gets them going every day. They have their world that they live in, that they're the experts, they're the passionate ones. And so for us, it's just really understanding what their passions are, educating them about how, what they need to do in order to meet their goals and to fuel their passions. But at the same time, understand that, they're not going to geek out about all of that as much as we will, because that's our thing. So it's just finding that balance of making sure you're providing enough information that people are comfortable, but not overwhelming them with so much information that then they become paralyzed, which can also happen pretty regularly as well.
Absolutely. And so I was reading the what is the word, the class that I was taking yesterday on membership. One of the things that they said was the amount of information that you're sharing should not exceed 60 minutes per week, because you want to get the learning as well as the doing, right? Theory needs to be practiced, and that's a key piece of what we've been emphasizing at MIT and beyond from before. If you have the head knowledge, it's not going to go anywhere. So you need your hands to be actually doing the work too. So that's really a big part. And focusing on practicing what we know and what we learn. Curious to hear your thoughts on what are the practical things that you're doing now to educate your customers.
Maybe Danielle or Raylana, I know you guys are both on here, if you guys want to chip in.
This is Raylana. Andrew, that one of the things that you've given me the opportunity to do is to share some knowledge with not only people who may be building their resumes or ready to practice to do something new, but also for business people who may be taking this time to improve their interviewing and selection skills. Always good when you do a presentation, of course, it's review for me too. So I think those are baseline skills that we can all use. I'm like Emily, I am a learner. I always want to do something new, learn something new. This is really an opportunity to actually help other people step by step figure it out.
Absolutely. And so that's really something practical, right? Like, I mean, another example that I can think about too is, a brewing company in Knox County had scheduled already downtime for renovations and expansion. And so And then the coronavirus hit, and then the lockdown happened, and it's like, oh well, we already scheduled this, so it's kind of that. But yes, you may be caught as a business. We may all be caught with, oh well, this happened. Now what we do about it, and that's really what is in our hands right now. Is here are the external factors that have impacted our business, but really our response or our reaction is going to be the action that makes a difference. We can either choose to be paralyzed, or we can choose to take some time to reflect and refocus and recenter. And I think that's going to be a big piece. So to Relana's point, the fireside chats we're doing, on an ongoing basis every week is designed specifically to give the community, the business owners, and everybody in the greater Peoria region a platform and a voice to share, the challenges as well as your issues that you want to talk about. So that's what we're trying to do. And we want to engage, and we want to share, and we want to participate, and we want to say, hey, you guys matter. And that's really where we're at. So what are your thoughts in terms of, right, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. So one thing that I really wanted to talk about was how can we strategically use this downtime, right? We're all at home. How can we strategically recenter so that our business can move forward in a more focused way going forward? Are you guys looking at a specific core set of value propositions that you're offering to a specific set of customers? What is that like?
So what I have been doing with the downtime is kind of catching up and learning myself so I can help educate our people. But also we've been working on our dog food. So I have taken this time to where I would not have had the time and I would have been struggling. Now I've actually got the time and I've taken multiple courses on the dog food, and we're pushing it out. Like, it's going out for testing on Monday, where if we didn't have this time, I would not have been able to do that. So right now what I've been doing is educating and working on new products. So it's going to help our people down the road, because now we have a dog food that we can get out to our people.
Because the last time you were talking about dog food was supposed to be the end of the year, wasn't it?
It was. We actually originally planned on releasing it like January, but then when we got picked up by Camping World, we had to push it back. And then, we've struggled and struggled. Well, I don't want to say it's kind of a heaven sent, but on our end, I've had the time to learn and work on our food, which I've had. You have to have trial and error. And if we would have started being busy in March, I fear that I would not be in the position that we're in now. So it's kind of a plus for our people that I have had the time to educate myself so I can educate them and get our dog food out.
What's the revised date for the dog food?
It is still Bears Bites Banquets.
No, what I mean, it was timeline.
Oh, timeline. So it goes into the testing facility on Monday. I send it off, and normally the testing facilities are pretty quick, but with the pandemic right now, I do not know how long it'll take, and I have to have those test results to be able to figure out our calorie count so that I can do a suggested feeding chart.
Okay, so all that to say, it's probably going to be sooner than January next year.
Oh, for sure. We're hoping to have it out before the middle of May this time.
Oh, wow. So that's like a 6-month Like that's accelerated six.
Yeah, I mean, it's moving. Like I said, I hate to say this has been a positive thing, because it's really, for me, it kind of has been, and for our people, because I've had time to educate, which I'll get to tell them all about it. We're going to start doing kind of like on my YouTube channel, I'll start having some educational videos about dog food, things like that, allergies. So I've had time to do that with this, and that's how I'm kind of preparing for the future right now.
And so how are you addressing the downtime? Are you doing anything, planning ahead for next steps?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily me that's planning ahead for next steps, but it's more so our clients. With all this downtime, what we're finding is that, couples, especially, that maybe, it was really hard to get two of them together in a room at the same time because, one maybe, it works for Cat and travels all the time, or, they both work and have professional jobs. Now we're able to get them, in the same room on a video chat because they're at home together. And so a lot of people are now kind of like what Sam's doing, taking this time now that they have concentrated availability to really kind of put that plan in place and move forward with it. We're seeing that on the financial planning side as well. They're like, okay, now's the time. Let's just get our ducks in a row and let's have that conversation as a couple with our planner to make sure that we're all on the same board before we start putting goals and steps in place to go forward. So I think it's been really good for a lot of our clients.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. It really sounds this whole idea of asset mapping and looking around you and taking the time to take stock of inventory, right? Right. Really, it's an inventory stock taking period. We're close, but hey, this is a good time to take stock of the inventory of all the things that we've accomplished for people, in a job situation, or even for business owners of like, okay, well, maybe this clears up time for me to focus on other things that I've been thinking about significantly. I think probably the biggest question that I have is how do you do that in a way that, in a systematic way, and who can you be accountable to? That's probably the biggest question. What do you guys think about that?
I'd say just making sure that you make your intentions known, right? I think we're just way more likely to move forward with something if we share our goals, share our intentions, whether it's with a friend that can be an accountability partner, or whether it's just out there, on social media, you make a statement, this is what I want to accomplish. I think if you just pronounce it out to the world, that you're way more likely to then go, okay, now what's my next step? Like, what's the next step towards reaching that goal? And people are going to ask, people are going to hold me accountable and say, so did you, so Sam, did you get the testing in for Monday for the dog food? Because if we know that that's happening, we're going to just keep asking and encouraging that person. So just putting it out there, I think, helps.
Yes, and absolutely building and finding that community of people who will keep you accountable is also, in and of itself, also a challenge, because, as an individual, I'll be like, oh my gosh, that person's going to read my mail, right? So that's definitely something to I think as we go forward, past this pandemic, is to really dig deep and to find the right tribes and the right community of people that you trust and that they trust you as well, because it's a two-way street for that to happen. Emily, what are your thoughts?
Well, for me personally, I lead two separate mastermind groups. And so for us, that's a really great place. They're confidential. So you can have some freedom in sharing information and trusting the group. And we are long-term mastermind groups. So we've built relationships within. It's every single month we meet, and now we're meeting on Zoom. Every single month we meet, we have the notes from the last meeting of, this is what you said you were going to do. What does that look like now? And the brainstorming that happens within those groups is truly amazing, because we've had the time to get not an intimate knowledge, but a more detailed knowledge of what everybody else does, more than just what anybody would see from outside. So we have the ability to sit down and brainstorm. So I love those kinds of experiences. I know it's a little more difficult to find those right now, but I think that there's nothing that says, hey, you can't grab 4 of your closest friends and do your own mastermind or brainstorming session or whatever you need that to be. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. The technology's there, and I'm here to help you. If you need help, just ask me. But all you have to do is talk like this. I mean, essentially, that's what we're doing right now.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my own story of joining one of these groups. It's called Red Biz Growth Camp. And Raylana was in my first group, and the thing that I wanted to work on for those 12 weeks was sleeping better. And actually, Raylana was the one who said, hey, where do you put your cell phone every night when you sleep? And I said, well, next to my bed. What is the last thing that you see before you close your eyes? Oh, my cell phone. So she goes, well, why don't you take your cell phone and put it in the kitchen? And I did that evening. And then the next day I slept for 7 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm like, that works. And that's an ongoing thing in terms of accountability. So I'm working with 2 other people, Dean Hefta as well as Kenneth Mitchell, in relaunching the Red Biz Growth Camp online that's starting. When is it starting? May 6th. So registration is up. It's on facebook.com/redbiz. It's at no cost, but really it's a great way to engage beyond now the geographic boundaries to find other people, like-minded people, for accountability. So just wanted to share that opportunity as well. Sam, what else are you up to above and beyond all the stuff that you're doing already?
So we had a lot projected for this year, and some of it's been pushed off a little bit, but we did get some new treats that we're working on. You know, we've got sounds kind of weird, but we have chicken feet coming in. We have replaced our salmon because I had some issues with some test results that I didn't quite like. So I replaced our salmon with whitefish. We're doing more freeze-dried treats for dogs that don't have a lot of teeth or are older. That's one feedback that we've gotten about our dehydrated treats is their dogs can't really chew them. So freeze-dried treats are a lot softer. They're kind of like a styrofoamy type. We're doing pumpkin, and it's really easy for older dogs to chew. And that was one of the first things I wanted to get done because pumpkin's so good anyway. But then we're also working on our nonprofit. So that we're going to launch in June. It's probably looking more December now just because it's just the world right now, and that's okay. We just we're gonna launch the Bears Bites Foundation, which will help people with emergency vet bills. So, but that's going to be further out than what we planned on, but we are still doing paperwork and stuff and planning for it. So, but that's what's exciting in the Bears Bites world right now.
Super exciting. And what else are you up to nowadays?
Well, I just finally got some online booking set up. So I had some feedback that, you know, a lot of people like online booking these days, right? We do a lot online. And so I set my Facebook page up to be able to do online booking. So I think that's probably the biggest thing right now is just trying to flex and understand what people want and need and just trying to be flexible for them and meet them where they're at.
That's a great point, which brings me to a question of scheduling. There's only 24 hours in a day. How do you run your meetings in a way that that is efficient, time efficient, and that actually gives you time to eat lunch or do everything else? How do you do that? Love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a big fan of time blocking. So I use time blocking where my calendar, 30-minute increments, and I, schedule it in. If I have lunch scheduled in, I have it blocked out in my online booking. So I've got at least a half an hour where nobody can book an appointment because I have lunch. Even in the mornings, I put on my calendar, walk the dog, walk Dee Dee, because I want to make sure that I'm getting outside. I'm not just, because when you're at home, it's really easy to just roll into work, right? Like you roll out of bed and you can roll into work. And so I think it's important to just schedule that time and even put a reminder. So it pops up and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be walking the dog right now. That's what I need to be doing.
That's such a great example. So in behavioral economics, really, it's a science of understanding and changing behavior. It's called a pre-commitment device. And those are really big words, but it really means that because you're going to forget or you're prone to not remember something, you take an action step ahead of time to help you remember or nudge you in the direction that you need to go. And so I think that's such a great practical example in terms for business owners to schedule time, right? We schedule time for meetings, but do we schedule time for work? I don't think we actually do that. And so that's definitely something that I'm also going to be working on, have been working on, to actually schedule time to actually do the work as opposed to just scheduling time for meetings. Emily, do you do that too? What other tips do you might have for scheduling?
That's actually a struggle bus for me. I love to work, and working from home is a huge challenge for me because my office is right here. Like, if I'm bored, I will just wander into my office and sit down and plug out some work. And so for me, that's a challenge. Actually, right before we got on here, my husband's home right now, thankfully. And he texted me, he's like, don't forget to have a snack. So he's taking care of me. But the boundaries are important to be able to say, I'm not going to work after this time. I'm going to have family time right now. And realistically, all of my family is under the same roof right now, and that's a rare occasion. So I should really be using the time to take advantage of that. So I'm working to make that possible. Eating lunch is terrible for me. I do my virtual co-working every day. I get off of that at like 3:30, 3:45, and I haven't eaten lunch yet every single day. And I think I'm so hungry, and then I feel terrible. So I think I need to do the time blocking like Anne says, but I'm a little more of a flexible kind of gal. So that's a tough one for me.
Well, give yourself grace, right? Give yourself grace easing into it where you might, time block it, but then you might miss something, but give yourself grace with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Emily, you brought up a really good point with regards to boundaries, because I think, for the adrenaline junkies like us, we're like thrive on things like this, right? Like we're like, oh, we're so encouraged, we're so motivated by the conversations and the ability to connect with people, and we want to connect with people because that's really what fuels a lot of the stuff that we're doing. But at the same time, to your point, with boundaries for meal times and breaks, because also your mind needs to wind down. So, which brings me to, we have about 4 minutes left, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Mental wellness. Sam talked a little bit about, playing with her dog and fish. But what else are you guys doing in terms of, to keep healthy and stay healthy mentally?
So I have been able to get back into running, which helps my anxiety huge and keeps my mind more focused. That is one big thing, because as Emily said, working from home, you just work, that's one problem I have struggled with is getting on a routine since I started working from home, because I'll work until 11, 12 o'clock at night because I have things to do. So I have now started, Bear and I go for a walk every day, at least 1 mile, and every other day I run. So that helps with mental health and kind of keeps me leveled.
Yeah, so I am not running, but would be great if some of that could rub off. That would be great. But I am trying every day to get out, take the dog for a walk, get the fresh air. I felt like the first couple weeks of this stay-at-home order, I was watching the news. I was watching every update. I was just like living and breathing it in the background, and I really felt like it was negative, right? It was having very negative effects, and so I don't watch the news a lot now. I'll start maybe in the morning, I'll watch a little bit while I'm drinking coffee, but then I cut it off. And I just, in the evenings, I make sure that I've got some sort of a kind of mindless, Netflix binge, couple hours if I can. Yes, I did watch The Tiger King. I admit it, I did. But it just also just kind of takes your mind away and just resets you, refreshes you. So just kind of building in downtime, I think is key.
Sounds like we need to schedule downtime as well. And the mental wellness piece is huge, because if we're not functioning well mentally and psychologically, then we can't care for our families, we can't care for our businesses, and we won't have the mind space or the head space to be thinking about how to pivot or how to simplify things that could potentially be quite complex. I wanted to use the last remaining time to share a little bit more about the fireside chats that are coming up. So in the following weeks, we're going to be having one on the creative design and fine art industries sector. We're also going to be having another one with in conjunction with the Peoria Riverfront Museum and Wildlife Prairie Park and the alternate state parks, and to get an update on how they're doing and how the animals there are doing, and what is happening in these treasures that we have in the region. We're also going to be having more with regards to, focus on the dining establishments and the retail businesses as well. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your contributions. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. And this will be shared as soon as possible on our Facebook as well as YouTube channel. If you don't follow us already, we're at facebook.com/startup Greater Peoria, and on YouTube under Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. So thank you all once again for joining us for this fireside chat, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Bye for now. The recording's done.
Okay.
I'm just saying, next time I'm just gonna. Oh, is it still on?
It's still on. I see the recording.
Okay. we can edit
it. Like, it's so fun. Okay, so it's so funny, right? Like, everybody's like, "Oh, it's being recorded." I have to be like, but okay. So the one thing that I wanted to say that I didn't say was that even more so than ever, people are searching for authenticity, and the more authentic that you can and transparent and like straightforward you can be with your customers, that is going to build dividends. So that's my final thought on that. I mean, like, that's why YouTube exists and that's why YouTube works. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I was going to say, Sam, you do awesome on Instagram. And as business owners, we're just people too, but we get all caught up and we have to be perfect. We have to present things in a certain way, but people don't like that. They know that it's fake. People want real, authentic, vulnerable. So you're doing awesome.
Yeah. 100%.
You are. You're rocking it.
I'm good at talking to people. I'm just not good when you put me on video.
Just pretend you're not on video.
Yeah, it's just still talking to a person.
Yep.
Take a picture of someone and tape it up next to the camera on your, and then just like you're talking to them.
Yeah. By the way, hey, I spoke with Mary from JA yesterday, Sam.
Yeah.
It will be great to see if you can be a what is the word? Inspirational person for one of their programs, and same for you and Anne and Emily. They're looking for people to inspire the next generation to thinking about business and work differently. So
That sounds cool.
Yeah. So if it's okay, I'd like to share that with Mary at JA. So.
Oh, sure.
Perfect.
I'm in. Sounds awesome.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. We're a little bit over.
Fun.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that's why we need to do more. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like
absolutely.
things.
Okay. Well, schedule it in, and we'll keep going.
Maybe we should start our own mastermind.
What's that? Yeah,
Maybe
we totally
start
should.
our own. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why the Red Biz thing is great. We're doing that, and we're just looking to connect in a way and experiment with new ways about thinking how to do mastermind and accountability groups. So sign up on facebook.com/redbizgrowthcamp.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good
Later.
day.